God is like this. He shields His people. And that's really good, Pastor Lloyd, to be reminded of the goodness of God and the character of God personally in our own lives.
Are you ready to level up your leadership? We all need to fill our cup before we can pour out to others. Let's clear out any blocks and clogs through this series and find our leadership flow.
Welcome to Victory Baliwag Leadership Flow, episode 43. At excited ako kasi fresh na fresh from a mission trip from Thailand, si Coach Emman. Yay! Good to have you.
Thank you.
Excited ako sa mga wisdom, especially in coming from a mission trip. By the way, maraming salamat, Conken. Nag-promote pa. Kita nyo, hindi lang basta Bangkok yan. Conken. And now we're gonna talk about opposition even in the midst of family. Okay, so narinig nyo na ba yung statement na Christian ka pa? Ganyan ka naman, di ba? Tapos syempre maririnig mo yun sa mga taong nakakakilala sa'yo. Yung asawa mo, yan ang unang magsasabi. And so every leader, no matter the context, whether it's business, education, political world, or sometimes mas lalo na sa ministry, every leader at some point feels like there are countless voices pushing one direction. Meaning, ang daming mong naririnig. And yet, we're not sure that's the direction that we should go. And ang mangyayari pa niyan, pag nagdadasal ka, binabasa mo yung Word of God, parang yung sinasabi ng lahat. Hindi yun yung sinasabi ni God. Paano yun? And what do we do when there are all of these voices of opposition? And yet, here's the direction we feel. And what do we do when there are voices of criticism lalo na? Hindi na nga lang yung clarity ng kung saan pupunta, but criticism, meaning wala talaga. It's not really to build you up, but to destroy you. Okay? And we're not talking about just any other person, anak mo, okay, or asawa mo. And so what do you do with opposition? And the answer is we face them. Face to face. And so we're gonna read Psalm 3 about Absalom. Alam natin, no, anak niya yon, and yet si anak niya yung gustong pumatay sa kanya, gustong kunin ng lahat sa kanya. Si David ayaw niyang lumaban kasi syempre, sino ba naman si Absalom, di ba? Pag si David ang lumaban kay Absalom, tigok kagad yun. And yet, alam natin, namatay din naman siya, but not really in the hands of Absalom. So, bago ko lang, mabilis lang naman to yung mga verses we're gonna comment. But, totoo ba ito? Is this a leadership roadblock, no? Parang opposition, lalong-lalo na nanggagaling sa family. Can you comment, Coach Emman?
I agree with that, Pastor Loyd. We're always saying that our family is the first ministry, but also, doon din natin nakikita na minsan, di ba, we're encouraging, we preach the gospel, minsan nilalagay mo pa yan, madalas nilalagay natin yan sa ating mga, kapag nag-prayer and fasting, family salvation. Yeah. But it's hard, alam natin sa sarili natin, nung kabataan ko po, nung kabataan narang tanda. Pero really, it's hard to preach the gospel to them knowing na nakikita talaga nila lahat ng flaws mo. Unlike pag nasa eskwelahan ka, nasa trabaho ka, nasa church ka, they're just seeing an hour and a half, 2 hours, but they're not seeing kung hindi mo nililigpit yung pinagkainan mo, hindi ka mautusan sa bahay. That can be a roadblock in terms of leadership. That's why it's really good na mapag-usapan po natin to. Paano kapag halimbawa, hindi na lang ibang tao, kasi ibang usapan kapag ibang tao yung kaaway. Ibang usapan din kapag pamilya mo naman or loved ones mo, yung sabihin na natin nag-o-oppose.
And we're not just talking about salita, no?
Yes.
Bodily injury, no? Looking to kill, no? Imagine mo yun, papatayin nung anak yung kanyang ama for the sake of position, for the sake of anything, no? So, we're gonna go through it quickly. Sabi ng Psalm chapter 3 verse 1, "O Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me." So, highlight lang natin, puro many voices, many things. Now, marami kayong naisip, but this is very emotional, personal, dangerous. ganong katindi to, ganong kalalim na opposition to. Hindi yung church ka lang dyan. Hindi. Mas malalim pa to. And sabi pa nga doon sa susunod na verse, many, again, verse 2, are saying of my soul, there is no salvation from him in God. So, many voices, but God. Okay, that's the first idea here. So, pagka may naririnig ka mga boses, ang goal mo minsan ay ilista ito lahat at pag-isipan at panaginipan. Paano ko kaya kukontrahin lahat ito? Na, hindi, mali ito. But we're gonna see in susunod na verse, I think this is verse 3 already, nagkamali ako sa verse. But you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory and the lifter of my head. And so he counters all of the voices in his head, not by trying to justify himself, but to remember who God is.
Wow, that's good.
Ang galing nun, ano? Parang, pero yun naman talaga, kahit naman sa mag-asawa, kahit sino, magkakapatid. Yan ang sinabi mo sa akin. Ito naman ang sasabihin ko sa iyo. Parang ganun lang yun, no? Pero ito si David, ang inisip niya, okay, yan lahat ang sinasabi sa akin ni Absalom and even his followers. It's not just even words, no? Talagang killing, no? Seeking to kill. And instead of going against Absalom, instead na isipin niya yung opposer niya, ang inisip niya ay, sino ba si God?
Yeah.
Yan. So, I'm gonna ask your comment in a while. But I think the whole point, bakit ba niya pinapaalala kung sino si God kesa alalahanin yung opposition sa kanya, yung mga accusation sa kanya, at ba't nga ba? Kasi ang sunod na verse is verse 4, I cried aloud to the Lord. Okay, so here's what the opposer is trying to do. At hindi lang ito basta opposition, anak niya ito. At in fact, tumatakbo siya kasi alam niya mapapatay niya yung anak niya eh. But in the end, Absalom died anyway, but hindi siya yung pumatay. So, pag may nag-oppose sa'yo, ang response ni David is not to address the opposition, but to remind himself of who God is so that he can cry aloud to the Lord. And he answered me from his holy hill. And kaya nga, ito yung dahilan sa susunod pa nating point. You're gonna be amazed, no, kung anong nangyari sa kanya in the midst of fear and worry. But I want to ask you, no, is that normal para sa mga estudyante, next generation? I think pag binash mo yung isa, sagot na naman yun. Sagutan. In all of this negativity in the social media and even in the schools, do our students know how to respond? Are they gonna justify themselves or are they gonna remind themselves of who God is? Ano ba nangyayari? Hindi ko alam eh.
With that kind of question, Pastor Loyd, I think I would answer it, my hope, sana ganon. Sana alam natin kung paano mag-capture ng thought, mag-control ng tongue. And sabi, nalala ko yung kaibigan ko, sabi niya, kasi dati daw, whatever kung ano yung laman ng puso, yun yung sabihin ng bibig. Pero dahil ngayon, Gen Z na, kung ano laman ng puso, itatype daw ng kamay. So that's how we are seeing it. But with how David responded dun sa many attacking, not just one, many. At ang masakit dito, pamilya mo. And as much as David wants to have na magkaroon si Absalom ng better future, paano nga kaya pag ganun yung nangyari? Na, di ba, usually naman po pag parents, Pastor Loyd, for example, kay Job and Uriah, you want them to have a great, good life. This is a total different scenario. And yet, what David did is remind himself, not really looking for the comfort of others. Uy, comfort mo naman ako. But I think it is our job as leaders to remind ourselves, gaano nga ba kabuti yung Diyos natin. And ang ganda po doon sinabi, He shields us. Who shields us in the times of of persecution, of opposition? Is it our wealth? Is it the skills? Is it the, bala sila dyan, wala akong pakialam? Even Psalms 91 says that God is a shield and a buckler. And we can see it in the whole Psalms. Na God is like this. He shields His people. And that's really good, Pastor Loyd, to be reminded of the goodness of God and the character of God personally in our own lives. Not really looking for the console of others. Comfort mo naman ako. Baka maybe, kailangan tanongin natin sarili, sino ba ang Diyos sa'yo?
Yeah.
And from there we get
Who do you cry out to?
Yes,
When someone is opposing you, lalo na kung hindi ka pwedeng gumante kasi pamilya mo yun.
Yeah.
So, where do you cry? Now, ito siya, maganda, no? Many voices, but God. And then he cried, and then he slept. Now, amazing yun, ano? Mamamatay ka na. That's a good contrast, number 2. Many voices, but one God. Person sleeping in fear. Okay? How can you sleep in your fear? Nakalagay dun sa verse 5, no? I lay down and slept. I awoke again, for the Lord sustained me. I'm just reminded of Jesus in the boat, di ba, no? Talagang guguluhan na yung mga disciples, and yet, ano si Jesus, natutulog, is it because wala siyang pakialam? Hindi. Most probably, kamukha lang din ni David, or David kamukha ni Jesus. Many voices. Can you imagine, palubog na yung barko? Ano kaya yung sinasabi ng mga disciples, no? Ang daming voices, no? But there's one God. And so, He was able to, well, si Jesus natutulog lang talaga yun, no? But hindi na pinakita yung nag-cry out. But si David, nung nag-cry out siya, nakatulog siya. Now, syempre, kaya naman tayo nagkakaproblema ay when we see these fearful situations, lagi mo iniisip. No? Hindi mo iniisip si God. Ang iniisip mo yung nag-oppose sa'yo. Iniisip mo yung nakakagalit sa'yo. So, anong resulta? No? Hindi ka makakatulog. Ngayon, pag iniisip mo si God, makakatulog ka. That's the whole point. No? God gives sleep to those He loves. Meaning, kung mahal mo talaga si God, therefore, siya lagi iniisip mo. At kung siya lang lagi iniisip mo, hindi yung nag-oppose sa'yo, hindi yung nakakagalit sa'yo, makakatulog ka. And that's the whole point. Now, I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. Tapos ang nakalagay pa nga doon, I slept and then I awoke. No? Last idea, no? Wake up in faith. Wow. Ayun pa yun, no? Sabi nung verse 7, Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for you strike all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. So, medyo ibang theology to, no? Imprecatory prayers, no? Parang, you don't have to actually, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Meaning, you can actually give the Lord the vengeance. Lord, pangtanggol mo ko, no? Yun yung faith niya. Verse 8, Salvations belong to the Lord. Your blessing be on your people, Selah. And I think i-summarize ko lang lahat, ano? So may opposition, family mo pa, many voices, but God. Meaning hindi mo isipin yung opposer mo, mga sinasabi niya, hindi mo i-justify primarily lang yung sarili mo. Isipin mo muna si God. And that will allow you to cry out to the Lord because He is your shield. And then because of that, you're going to be able to sleep. And when you wake up, you will wake up in faith. Okay? That's the whole point. So, final words so that our leaders, interns, volunteers, committed people in the church could actually unlock and flow in their leadership.
Yeah. And just to add before my final words, Pastor Loyd, is that when David sang that he rested and sleep, there's this distinction. There's a rest, there's a sleep. Kasi some of us, because of the opposition, we're just sleeping, but really not resting.
Oh.
And that's one of the great parang gifts of God sa atin. That you're not just gonna sleep, you will be rested.
Yeah.
Come all to lahat daw, come to Him, all of who are weary and heavily laden.
And I will give you rest.
Yes.
Think about Jesus.
Ang galing
Don't think
yan,
about your opposer, even if it's your family.
Yeah, ang galing lang po. So siguro final words lang. It's really an amazing thing that David wrote a song about his enemies, but hindi siya self-pity. This is a song that will remind him who God is. And I hope and I pray I think one leadership block na pwedeng ma-assist, matanggal po rito is the self-pity. When things are not going well, kawawa naman ako. David wrote
Nasaan yung focus?
Yes. Kasi kawawa naman ako. Nasa iyo yung focus. But ang galing ng Diyos ko. This is not positive, toxic positivity. But this is us reminding who God is in our life.
Come on, and that is how you flow in your leadership. Thank you, bro.